All right, you guys, it is time to move on to our last email of the day, and our last email of the day comes to us from the Nerd Zone. And you can see that he sent in this email yesterday. The day has come! The day has come, ladies and gentlemen! We got the trailer for No Way Home, and I was right about a multiverse Sinister Six. Were you, though? We'll talk about that. He says, I can't wait to see the film. Your thoughts? Nerd Zone, I 1000% agree with you. I am so excited also to see Spider-Man No Way Home. I want to jump into let's pull up this webpage real quick from Collider. And after the trailer debuted, Collider did this kind of like, hey, 7 things we learned from the trailer. And it kind of breaks it down. And some things are generic, some things we already knew, but like it kind of breaks it down. And I kind of want to address each one of these points. First initial thoughts for me is I loved this. I thought this was wonderful. It was a great trailer. Everybody was clamoring for it. Of course, there was the online leak. There was the trailer leak that came out where, you know, it's a video of somebody watching it on their phones. And it was poor quality. You could barely see it. You could barely hear it. There were a few things that came out, I don't know, somewhat recognizable. But for the most part, you couldn't quite really tell what was going on. So was that impetus for Sony to drop the full trailer? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe they're already planning on it. And also, as a side note, that bootleg kind of like handheld trailer leak, whatever, it had the watermark of one of the visual effects artists. So whenever a studio sends out a trailer to certain visual effects people or certain like online people or whatever, they put a watermark on it with the person's name on it. So if that image ever gets leaked, they know who leaked it. So the guy's name was literally on it. So I don't know. For like as a side note, that is fascinating to me, how that trailer got leaked, because unless this guy just wanted to like quit his job in a really big way, I don't know. It seems like I don't know. He's going to be in a lot of trouble for this. There's going to be a huge Sony investigation. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the actual trailer of Spider-Man No Way Home. We're going to break it down. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great trailer. In fact, we should have gotten a teaser trailer. I think we all figured we were getting a teaser trailer. You guys, this was a full-blown first trailer. They just bypassed the teaser trailer all together, and they just gave us a full trailer. Before we go through and break this down, Moses, I want to talk to you. What were your initial knee-jerk reactions? Because you're a huge Spider-Man fan. You're a huge Spider-Man fan. You're wearing the shirt.
Does it show? Does it show?
So yeah, what was your initial reaction here?
So, you know the saying, do you know where you were when X happened? As the older I've gotten and the geekier I've gotten, I have one where, of course, it's the serious ones, like for world-changing events and all that. But also, you have those ones where it's just like more fun and just for stuff like this. So it's like I will remember where I was when the trailer dropped. So I was out with a friend, and we were just talking about random stuff, and she just looked at her phone for a second. She was just like, it's out. And I was like,
what's it?
What are you talking about? What are you talking about? And then she was just like, the trailer, it's out. And I was like, no. And I was like, no, it's not out. And then she showed me the screen thing, and then basically since we were outside, what ended up happening was, because there were cars passing by, it was just like, okay, look, I'm not going to be. So we had like an agreement that we would kind of separate and watch it separately, so that way I could be able to hear the
Sure.
thing on my headphones. So because I didn't want like any cars interrupting it. So it's like it was like just watching the trailer. It was just like the outright joy. It's just like going like, okay, I love the sweetness of just seeing Zendaya and Tom Holland together, and I'm just realizing how single I actually am. I was like, good for you, you lovely folks. But then just seeing the fallout of what Mysterio's loose lips had done to Peter's life and everything, and then going to Doctor Strange, which is one of the most New York styles I've ever seen. Like him in a parka with the cape out, it's just like that is so. If he had like the only thing missing was Doctor Strange wearing Timbs. I need that. I need that in my life.
I mean,
just
maybe
because it was cold and everything.
Maybe he was.
It's like, yeah, people are talking about like all the different, like the Sinister Six and stuff like that. It's just like I want to see if he's wearing Timbs. That's the movie I want to see in my life.
All right, so I want to go through. I want to jump into this article from Collider and kind of start breaking things down a little bit. The first point that they make in this article, if I can find it, where did it go? There we go. They talk about the plot of No Way Home, saying that, we finally kind of understand a sense of the story, what this is going to be about. I would argue we kind of already knew a little bit, right? We knew that it was called Spider-Man No Way Home. We knew, like, building off of the Home series, right? Homecoming, Spider-Man coming back to Marvel. This is also the Homecoming dance, right? Spider-Man Far From Home, he's not going to be in New York. Oh, and then the trailer drops, come to find out, oh, he's on a European vacation. Cool. Spider-Man No Way Home, we know that the multiverse is really getting amped up and revved up, and there's a lot of talk and speculation about the multiverse. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, stuff like that. So we know that the multiverse was going to be playing a big part of it. We knew that Doctor Strange was going to be in the movie. So when they say the title of No Way Home, that kind of already gives us a sense of idea of, we know what the story of this is going to be. It's Spider-Man going through the multiverse, and now he's stuck there, and he has to find his way back home. No way home. There's no way back home. Do you, Moses, have a different take on that? Or, I mean, because it kind of seems like non-news, like we already kind of knew it. Or does the trailer help to solidify that for you?
That plot, yes, we knew, but I feel like each film in the John Watts. Can
you imagine a movie, Spider-Man movie directed by Tom Watts?
Oh my god.
Oof.
No, now I kind of want that in my life now. But each title seems to have a relation to the plot. In Homecoming, it's that, you could say that Spider-Man has come home to the MCU, or rather that he's, through the course of the film, he's come home to the fact that he's actually Spider-Man. Far From Home, of course, you have the obvious European vacation thing, but by the end of it, it's like he's now in a position where it's like he's far from his home, which is like being comforted and things of that nature. Being comforted, like his home is gone.
Level.
That Mysterio, on an emotional level. So No Way Home, in my set, we already knew the plot as soon as, because of culture the way it is. But what if No Way Home isn't the fact that it's like Spider-Man's turning back point, to where it's like he's now in a position where he cannot go back, where it's not going to be the same movies that we've seen in the previous two.
Oh, that's an interesting point.
Something's going to. That something's going, because this is his third time. This is the third movie in the John Watts trilogy. So at this point, he has to start moving in the direction that he has to start growing up. So it's like the comforts and conveniences that he's known all this time, something's got to give where he can't go back to that. And I think it was even alluded to in the trailers where it was like where he was just like, okay, I want my secret identity to be secret. Okay, so basically no one will remember that you're Spider-Man. What about MJ? Nope. What about Ned? He's my best friend. So all of these things have already been hinted at this trailer. So it'd just be very interesting to see what that's going to look like by the end of the movie.
Let's jump back into this article from Collider. The next plot or the bullet point that they have is something that you pointed out. Even Doctor Strange winter attire is a costume. Again, this seems a little non-news to me. It's just, hey, Doctor Strange is in kind of a silly, goofy costume. He's wearing a hoodie, and then he's wearing a coat, and then he's wearing the cloak on top of everything. And as you point out, Moses, it would be kind of cool to see Doctor Strange in a pair of Timbs. But again, like, yeah, his house is like covered in wintry snow. Does that mean anything? Is that just kind of like a fun aesthetic choice of like, hey, let's dress it up to look like this? That doesn't seem to be anything major to talk about. Would you agree? Would you not agree? Do you have something else to add?
Yeah, it's just fun. It's just fun. I just want to see Doctor Strange and Timbs with that.
Yeah,
it's fine.
It doesn't seem to be like a big thing. This next thing I actually think is kind of interesting. Peter Parker may or may not end up in a black Spider-Man suit from Spider-Man 3. What I'm going to say, obviously, take with a grain of salt. I have a feeling this whole sequence was a misdirection. I have a feeling that this is a scene that they filmed just for the trailer, and it's not going to appear in the movie. I mean, I could be way off the mark. It's Spider-Man into the multiverse. There could be so many different iterations of Peter Parker and so many different iterations of Spider-Man that we're going to see in this movie. Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? But there's something about this scene. And yes, we do very briefly see a Spider-Man character wearing the black suit in some kind of a battle with whom seems to be Electro, right? And we'll talk about that in a minute. But for this scene, we see Tom Holland wearing the black Spider-Man suit running through a cafeteria or like running through some kind of a room. We know that Marvel puts misdirection in their trailers all the time. In Avengers Infinity War, we see that classic shot of, there's Captain America and Black Widow and the Hulk. And I think Winter Soldier's there, and the Falcon is there, and they're in Wakanda, and they're all running through the jungle like dun 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 dun, and like the big centerpiece of that was the Hulk. You actually see the Hulk running through the wood or through the forest with the other Avengers in Wakanda. That never happened in the movie. You just don't see, except for the opening sequence, you don't see the Hulk in the movie. So that scene was a huge misdirection. That was filmed because they knew he wasn't going to be in the movie. So that was filmed just as pure misdirection. Same thing when you have Captain America, like Thanos is punching Captain America, and Captain America catches his hand. Thanos is like, who is this guy who just caught my punch? You get a really close look at the Infinity Gauntlet. And at the time, in the trailer, I think Thanos only had like one jewel or like one Infinity Stone or maybe two Infinity Stones. But in the movie, he had all of them except for one. He was missing the Mind Stone, but he had all the rest of the Infinity Stones. So again, misdirection. When I look at this scene of Peter Parker in the black Spider-Man suit running through, I see that as misdirection. Now, Moses, I could be way off the mark. I could be way off the mark. That actually could be a decent plot point within the movie. We just don't know. We have no way of knowing. This is our first look, our first trailer. in a second trailer or a third trailer, we might get more scenes of Peter Parker in the Black Spider-Man suit. But being that the Black Spider-Man suit is so intrinsically tied to Venom and the symbiote, and Venom hasn't officially made his debut in the MCU, I don't know. I see this as misdirection. What do you think?
Well, first off, I already knew before the trailer that there was going to be a black and gold like mystery suit because of the toy launch, because they had already showed like a lot of the suits I was getting. So it was based on what the description of the action figure is. Just so you know, I'm not making stuff up. It's like a black and gold magic suit of some kind, but honestly, I mean, it's fine. It's just like, I feel like I'm kind of, I want to say that I'm on board with you on that for the simple fact that it's just like, I just enjoyed the trailer. I really just was happy that we got the trailer and that we know that it exists and everything like that. Like some of these deep dives, I mean, honestly, I would be good if this was all we had leading up to Far From Home, because it's like I said last week, this trailer could have dropped 2 weeks before the movie came, and people would have bought tickets.
They totally would
to go see.
Before we keep giving it more platitudes, I want to. There's a lot more to break down in very little time. So the next bullet point that Collider makes is that Green Goblin is back. Maybe. So again, in the trailer, like when some of the villains start emerging, this is the first image that we see of Green Goblin's kind of hand grenade, little pumpkin bomb, followed by a sounds similar to Willem Dafoe. It hasn't been confirmed that Willem Dafoe is in the movie. Willem Dafoe has been a little ambiguous as to his involvement with the film, at best. Is it Green Goblin? Probably. Let me go on record saying probably it's Green Goblin. I would also like to speculate, I have a feeling we might not be getting the Sam Raimi Green Goblin, but we might be getting a more comic accurate on-screen depiction of the Green Goblin, with kind of like the green cap or the purple cap and the red, green face paint. That whole thing. Maybe, who knows? Complete speculation. I have nothing to base that on. Probably. But I would also like to point out that it's also been heavily speculated that Ned Leeds, who is Spider-Man's best friend, played by Jacob Batalon in the film, Ned Leeds is the character Hobgoblin. Is Hobgoblin going to be making an appearance? Will Jacob Batalon be doing, two different versions of Ned Leeds because this is the multiverse? Is Ned Leeds going to see himself as the villain Hobgoblin? We very, very well could see that. We could see that head to head. Is this Green Goblin's pumpkin bomb, or is this the Hobgoblin's pumpkin bomb? And the Hobgoblin, for those of you who don't know, basically stole and ripped off the costume and the tech of the Green Goblin and used it as his own. Whole other thing. But I mean, who knows? Maybe seeing the pumpkin bomb and hearing that vicious laugh doesn't necessarily confirm Green Goblin is back. Probably. It probably does. He probably is back. But not 100%. Not 100%. Before we move on to the next point, Moses, thoughts about Green Goblin, specifically Green Goblin being back. Do you think it's going to be Hobgoblin? Where do you stand?
That's a good point that I didn't really think of. Because it's a Sony property, they do have access to the sound files, so they could just drop it in and just go, here's just something to get the internet talking. But really, it's like, surprise, it's a slimmer Jacob Batalon in like Green Goblin, in repurposed Green Goblin garb. So that is a possibility. Again, until we see it, it's like, I'm gonna I've come to apply this standard rule when it comes to films. Until we see it on the screen and we have proof, it's just conjecture.
And you know what we actually do have proof of? And let me scroll down a little bit more. We actually do have proof. Alfred Molina is officially back as Dr. Octopus. We already knew this was happening, but now seeing him in the film saying, "Hello, Peter," seeing the de-aged face of Alfred Molina, 1,000%. This is the one villain that we can 1,000% confirm and say, yes, Dr. Octopus as a villain is back in this movie. I mean, I'm hesitant to say that about any other villain. I'm hesitant because it hasn't actually happened. I'm hesitant to say that Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire are coming back into this film because there's no photographic evidence or proof or, official confirmation from any of the studio heads or the director or the actors themselves. So, I mean, it's all probably going to happen, probably. But if it doesn't, let's not be let down, right? If something completely different happens from what we're expecting, I don't want our expectations to be so high that if every bullet point isn't met, that we're immediately going to sink down here. And I definitely know Sony and Marvel, they don't want that to happen either. It's one of those things that, like, take caution, please. Please take caution, because I love this stuff just as much as anybody else. And if we don't get Andrew Garfield, if we don't get Tobey Maguire, if we don't get Green Goblin, if we don't get the Sinister Six, feelings are going to be hurt and people are going to be let down. And I don't want that to happen to me, and I don't want that to happen to fans. So I temper our expectations. Moses, any additional thoughts on that?
Yes. I think also from just a studio standpoint, Kevin Feige would I've already heard Alfred Molina spill the beans that he was going to be in it. And he was just like, fine, let's just put him in the trailer type of thing. So it's just out there. That's how I feel about it. But I'm kind of with you in the fact that I'm gonna say a different point that I don't feel like many people are realizing. This potentially could be the work of Mysterio.
Oh,
because remember, even in the first trailer for in the first few trailers for Far From Home, we had screen grabs of quote unquote Sandman, Hydro Man, Molten Man type of thing, and they were like, oh, these guys are in the movie, confirmed type of thing. So we saw instances of them, but at the end of the day, the main big bad was Mysterio that had those nods to the comic books. So, and he'd also said in the movie that he came from a different Earth. Whether a different Earth and a different reality. So, whether you want to chalk that up as him being whether you want to say that he's an unreliable narrator, or he might have been in fact telling the truth, we just have to see this movie to find out what.
I will say, if that's true, it kind of negates the build-up to a multiverse. Because if Mysterio is behind all of this stuff, that's a massive misdirect. That's like a plot point misdirect. It's not like we're going to show you a scene that doesn't exist misdirect. Like that, it changes the whole context of everything. It's the same reason that I hated the post-credits scene from Captain Marvel. When you see Nick Fury on a spaceship with all the Skrulls in outer space, presumably trying to set up S.W.O.R.D., it negates the entire movie that you've just watched, because now you realize that was never Nick Fury. That was always that was Talos.
I thought that was the end the credit screen for Far From Home.
I'm sorry. Yes. My apologies. Yes. You are sorry. Yeah. Yes. But yeah, sorry. That negates like all yeah. Now I feel silly. Yes, you are correct. But the point is the same, is that it negates the movie that you just watched. Nick Fury having all of those interactions with Spider-Man Peter Parker and all of those interactions with Mysterio, and every portion of the movie that Nick Fury was in, that wasn't Nick Fury. That was Talos. And that I felt cheated. I felt cheated in that regard. And I don't know. So in that regard, if Mysterio is creating a Mysterio multiverse, I don't know. I have a hard time buying that. But to your point, that's not outside of the realm of impossibility.
Yeah, I'm just saying anything is possible. And he said, like, at the end of his quote unquote last words were like these days people will believe anything. And so it's like, I just feel like we don't know what combination of maybe Mysterio has like some pull in the multiverse, brung out more villains, or it's a or some of the lightning or sand thing is a combination of his
we just
powers.
Don't know.
We just don't know. No.
Speaking of not knowing, let's hit up this last bullet point from Collider, where they say Sony is probably building to a Sinister Six. I want to harp on one word: probably. They probably are. In this trailer, we get confirmation that Doc Ock is back in the trailer. There's one sequence, and it's probably 1 second long, maybe less than a second. We see tons of lightning bolts, so probably Electro. We see the little pumpkin grenade bomb with the cackle of who is probably Green Goblin. Again, that might be a misdirect. That might actually end up being Hobgoblin. Who knows? It's probably Green Goblin. Probably, right? We know that Morbius, Sony's working on a Morbius movie. We know that Sony's working on a Kraven the Hunter movie. We know that Sony has a whole bunch of Venom movies out right now. Or I guess Let There Be Carnage will be delayed even further, probably until January. That's a whole other story, right? So there's 6 villains right there. We also have Vulture that exists in the MCU Spider-Man movies. They've already introduced Mac Gargan, who is Scorpion. Thank you.
Scorpion.
We've had the Shocker. We've had 2 incarnations of the Shocker. If you want to delve into the Andrew Garfield movies, we've had Rhino. We've had the Lizard. The Sandman was brought up in the Sam Raimi movies. So I mean, like, there's so Spider-Man and Batman, 2 characters that have the greatest rogues gallery of all time. I would actually argue Spider-Man has a better rogues gallery, but I mean, whatever. Are they building to a Sinister Six movie? We know that Sony's been wanting to do this forever. So I'm going to say probably, but again, we can't watch the trailer and say, it's been confirmed. Nothing's been confirmed until Sony comes out and says that it has been confirmed. Even in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, it ends with this shadowy figure whom we still don't know, and we'll never find out because they never reveal who that shadowy figure is. But the shadowy figure is walking past the tentacles from Doc Ock, the wings from the Vulture. We know that, like, the Rhino costume came from that area. There was whole other stuff. So Sony's been wanting to build up and do a Sinister Six movie for a long time. Maybe they cracked the code on how to do it, and they're trying to keep it secret and on the down low, and eventually they're going to bring all these characters together. Who knows? And as Moses points out, all of this could be contingent on Mysterio being alive. Maybe he's still like, that's always been my takeaway from Spider-Man Far From Home, is that, did Mysterio die? I mean, did he? Did he? Because he's Mysterio. So I don't know. Like, what are your thoughts on the Sinister Six? Do you think that this movie is confirming a Sinister Six team up at some point? Like, I don't know. How does this sit with you?
I feel like this is very, very much like, I won't say confirming, but I will say it's strongly suggesting. Because even at the very end of Homecoming, they were, like that bit where Vulture's in jail and Matt Gargan approaches him. He's like, I heard you know who he is. I got like a couple friends and whatnot, type of thing. So it's just like, I wouldn't be surprised if they did, but at the same time, I'm holding out reservations before I can say they fully are, because even within their own universe, they're about like, first of all, Spider-Man, knocking on wood here, Spider-Man's not going anywhere. So, Marvel's going to do whatever they can to keep Spider-Man in this version of Spider-Man going as long as they possibly can. And Tom Holland is young enough where they could be able to keep it going for a little while longer. So even from, like you said, even in the first movie, they had Vulture, Scorpion, Shocker, the Tinkerer, and now you've had Mysterio to the mix.
They also added Miles Morales' uncle, the Prowler.
Yeah, the Prowler. So even even with that, you're literally a movie or two away from having a Sinister Six alone. So they really wouldn't have to do much. It's just like for a Sinister Six. But I don't know. We'll just have to see. And we just have to see. I mean, yes, it's great that all of this excitement for the Spider-Man movie is coming. We finally got the trailer and like all of these theories and everything, but more to your point earlier, it's like we need to temper our expectations for the simple fact that it's like I will never forget like the few minutes like after seeing the trailers, it's like I can't wait to see what happens next. Not necessarily like, oh, let me go rewatch the trailer like 15 times to pick apart. Okay, this is where the movie's going to be. This is where the movie's going to happen. At exactly 42 minutes, this is going to be the appearance and whatnot. It's just like, I love these movies because I want to discover what story's going to happen, not necessarily to watch the movie to be like, see, this happened exactly like I told you type of thing. I think we just need to remember that these people, for better or worse, were hired to do a job, which is to tell a story about a Spider-Man, in this case, a Spider-Man going through a certain episode in its life, not necessarily to tell them how to do their jobs or predict it before they do their job.
It becomes the danger. And I think this is why they don't want to release trailers too early, because when you release a trailer 6 months out, we start like getting into these fan theories and, oh, this is what that means and this is what that is. And then when those things end up not happening on screen, we tend to be a little disappointed. But you guys, I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts? Are you tempering your expectations? What are your thoughts about the Sinister Six? Do you think the Sinister Six is going to be making maybe an appearance in this movie? Do you think this trailer confirms the appearance or the existence of an upcoming Sinister Six? And what are your reasonings behind that? What are your off-screen reasons, so to speak? What about the Green Goblin? Do you think it could actually end up being the Hobgoblin? Did Electro make an appearance in this trailer? Did Venom make an appearance in this trailer? Or Morbius? Or like, do you think there's going to be more of a crossover than we currently know? Do you think it's going to be more of a straightforward story? Do you think Mysterio is at the heart of this whole thing? You guys, there's so much about this trailer to break down and to talk about and to spawn more discussion. I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts? Jump on down to the comment section below. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you like this video, click like. If you really like this video, click subscribe. And if you really, really like this video, click share. Because that is exactly what Michelangelo from the Ninja Turtles would want you to do. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.